Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel. So I think with everything that's currently going on, the way the community feels and the amount of different groups actually arguing over what should happen with these funds, the earmarked funds, so to speak, at 800 million USTC, it's a considerable amount. Now, we have seen historically that it does dump the price. Now, that price dump wasn't, worse things have happened, right? We've seen worse price dumps as a community. So I'm kind of weighing this out right now and thinking to myself, what could best please the community, the quant team, and loads of other people. And I think the safest thing to say right now, oh, don't worry about Hexagon, they blocked me. Is Risk Harbor keep delinking themselves from tweets, which is understandable. I think for the community, something to absorb right now is that if it does pass, it still relies on Risk Harbor coming forward and simply returning those funds. I think there's been another account on Luna V2 where they have returned funds. So, who actually knows what could happen from the tax proposal? The one thing I think shouldn't happen if these funds do get voted through to burn and the community get hold of those funds, I believe they should only burn if the community gets hold of them. Burning them in contracts, very questionable, and so is burning them in someone's wallets. And I think people would say, well, burning them in contracts, not that bad. If you look at any sort of a project, specifically NFT projects, a lot of my projects, they work inside the contracts. So if there's LUNC or USTC to be paid out in rewards, it's actually held in those contracts. So sometimes there can be a lot of LUNC held in contracts. As you can see, if they can get to it in the contract, 800 million USTC, it raises questions, right? I think if we're going to do this, we should definitely do it the right way as a community and do it professionally and maturely and, ensure we're not breaking any laws. But I think with this sort of proposal, right, there's not really any harm in it passing, and there's no harm in really just saying, yes to it, because ultimately, right, those funds, if they're earmarked, whatever, at this point, it's just worth a shot. They're in the limelight now, and I think a lot more negative would come from those funds just kind of ending up like that multi-signature wallet. And right now, we need everything we can get as a community. And every time I sort of propose this more complex route, I totally get why it's not highly accepted and why things come to question and why teams get more defensive. So I think I'm just going to start going with the flow a bit more. And if this is what the broader consensus want to do, why should we stop that? But something to take into account right now is that if you go and look at the validators, shift the voting power on the filter from high to low, you'll see that if the top 5 nodes don't get involved in this, the likelihood of it reaching quorum each time is slim to none because they hold a substantial amount of the voting power, right? And then only about 50% of the voting validators actually vote, and it all becomes this situation where we have to wait, or you have to go and garner the support of some of these bigger nodes to get them in to vote. Otherwise, it's just never going to reach quorum, and it really does brew down to things like this. So I think there's a lot to do with this, and I think getting a green light before you put a proposal up like this would have been better, but the route's walked, the path's laid out ahead, and all we can do is continue to walk it and try make it as best as we can. So I think if it does pass, to save any arguments, anything, can just anyone trying to do stuff with it or gain power over it or do anything, just get rid of it, just burn it and make the community happy. If the price pumps, the price pumps. If it dumps, it dumps. So what? We got rid of USTC and the community's happy. We can move forward as a collective and keep pushing forwards, because this sort of stuff always comes around a time of great importance, and I don't want the community to take their mindsets off of getting this wallet infrastructure up and running, and then also getting the endpoint infrastructure ready to rock, ready for the next quarter, because we're about 2 months, around 2 months, maybe a little bit less, until the next quarter has to be proposed for funding. That's when Terra Rebels, aka Hexagon, are going to go for it. we need to ensure that the community knows, especially with the current endpoints being down for the legacy mobile station that we all use and utilize over everything. It's the thing that you use the most. You can use it on the go. You feel safe using that. And when that's down, it causes panic and it doesn't look good for our blockchain. It prevents swapping and it prevents loads of other different stuff from happening. And it's very interesting. So, you know, one thing to also take into account with them shutting down the endpoints to make the mobile infrastructure go all funny, and I'm going to do an independent video to cover this because it's actually hilarious, is that if we remember every time anything important's ever gone up for vote, right, especially with L1 funding, with Terra Rebel funding, the endpoints have always gone down, haven't they? Every time there's always been an issue with the endpoints and the community have not been able to vote and it's simply gone down to validators. And it's all really peculiar that there's this real unlevel playing field being produced, and it's becoming more and more evident because there's high evidence to support it each time. So it's not us trying to give you this complex explanation. We simply say, look at the evidence, look at the historical data, look what's happened previously, and kind of correlate that with what's going on currently and how much of an important time we are in. I have no doubt around the next quarter, it's going to be absolutely insane. The sabotaging is going to be left, right, and center, and people are going to be so scared their paychecks are going to get taken from them and simply given to the community. So no one prospers but the community. At least we'll be able to update all of our own systems, though, right? Right. So going back to this USTC, it's a considerable amount of the supply. But what I want for myself to see as a happy community, and if this makes the community happy, do you know what? I'm happy, and I'm happy to see that people will get a happy, positive response from this, even knowing that there is possibly going to be a price dump, which hopefully there's not. Hopefully it sends us off to the moon. Hopefully it does a 300x. You know, I think we'd all be very happy to see our price increase by 3x, because if USTC gets dragged up, LUNC gets dragged up too. It's a love-love situation. But at the same time, if we're committing to this, we need to understand the risks. I think we know the risks, and I think we've gone over them more than enough here. But this is one of those situations, like I said, where it's happening. We can't really fight it, and it's wrong to fight it. I've given my opinion. I'm not really fighting it, and I'm simply just sort of going, do you know what? You know, maybe this is for the best. And if there has been instances historically of them returning funds previously to the V2 chain or whatever, then, you know, maybe we've got a shot. Who knows? This governance proposal could lead to so much more. Let me know what you folks think in the description. In the description? You can't comment in there. Comment in the comment section. Jesus Christ, what's wrong with me? Folks, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware. None of this is financial advice. Beware of scammers, beware of doppelgangers, beware of anyone who pretends to be me. And yeah, it's all my own humble opinion. I'll catch you in the next one.